On-the-scene coverage of ACC.14 is supported by Janssen Pharmaceuticals, Incorporated.
I'm Peter Block at the ACC annual meetings for looking at the clinical trials, and for now they continue to roll out in rapid fashion. One of the latest ones is maybe a boring, yet again, one drug-eluting stent versus another. Next to me is Marco Valgamigli from Italy, though he's really working at the Netherlands. So Marco, this trial is maybe not so boring. Tell me about the trial.
Well, thank you so much first for having me. I think this is again a stent A versus stent B, but in a very selected patient population. We selected patient who qualified for not being good DS candidate, namely patient at high bleeding risk, patient at high thrombotic risk, or patient at low risk stenosis risk. And I have to say these patients have been largely excluded from previous studies, so this is really a new piece of information for us to think about.
Okay, so this is new information, and it's also about short-term versus longer-term drug-eluting stent therapy. Is that correct?
Well, it's correct in the way that we have allowed DAPT to be modeled based on patient risk profile and not to be driven by stent type, so that irrespective of the stent type to which patients were randomized to, DAPT was supposed to be relatively short. Actually, the average duration of DAPT in our study is 30 days in both stent groups.
Okay, so now suddenly we have only 30 days of DAPT in patients with drug-eluting stents. What did you find?
Well, the primary endpoint, which was the MACE rate, combination of death, MI, and target vessel revascularization, was significantly reduced. We were expecting that to happen thanks to TVR difference, namely the fact that patients receiving DES were undergoing less revascularization, and that's what we have seen. But also we have seen a dramatic difference in MI, being lower in patients having received DES, and that was largely driven by a reduction in stent thrombosis, which is quite remarkable if you think that DAPT was so short in that patient population.
I mean, you expect exactly the opposite, wouldn't you? That the stent thrombosis would increase later on.
Well, that was our concern at the beginning, and then when we saw the result of the study, we were really happy to see that opposite has occurred.
Okay, so opposite than what you had expected. So give me the short version of what the take-home message is here, Marco. If you had a stent put in tomorrow, what stent would you like, and how long would you take your DAPT?
Well, that's a very complicated question and does not necessarily reflect the result of our study. We have focused our attention on patients who were really selected for being not good stent candidates. So as long I could be in future one of those, meaning I could not tolerate longer DPT, I think that stent, Endeavor Sprint Zotarolimus-Eluting stent, is a fantastic choice, and in my mind could even replace bare metal stent in that indication.
So for the very high-risk patient,
absolutely,
very short DAPT time, even of the drug-eluting stent, seems to make some sense.
Absolutely, because this is a peculiar DS. That's something we need to mention as well.
Thank you very much, Marco.
Thank you for having me.